Okay, so this video, I'm going to show you how to do a single crochet. I'm using medium yarn, a size K hook. I have chained 10 chains. So this is one of the things that you're going to have to kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. Some patterns definitely need to be followed correctly in the beginning. So like if you know that you need 10 stitches and you're doing a single crochet, you always have to chain one more. So if you need 10, you actually should chain 11. So then what you do is instead of starting in this hook right here, in this loop right here, you're going to start in the next one. So that gives you that first stitch at the end. I'll explain more when we get to like double crochet and stuff like that. Some people chain 3, some people chain 2. It just depends on what you're doing. So we want 10 stitches. So we need to chain 11. So I've chained 11. So what you're going to do is you're going to count the second stitch. So not this first one, but the second loop. And you're going to insert your hook into that. You always should have 2 loops on top of your hook. So if you kind of turn your chains a little bit, you see this one little bump back here. That's the second loop in your chain. So if you look at it this way, you have 2 loops. And then if you look at it this way, you have 2 loops. So you want to have 2 on top of your hook when you're inserting. Doing your first stitches into the chain is the hardest part. But once you get it, it's super easy and it goes fairly quickly. So we're going to insert into the second loop. And then you're going to hook your yarn, turn it down, and you kind of turn it sideways and pull it through. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. And remember to pull your loops down a little further down so it sizes them correctly. Then you're going to go under, just like you're doing in chaining. You're going to hook your yarn, turn it down, pull it through both loops, and you've just made your first single crochet. So we're going to do the same thing all the way down the chain. So this is your next loop right here. So you're going to insert your hook. Now see how I have 2 loops on top? 1 is on the bottom, 2 are on top. So you're going to hook, kind of go sideways down a little bit, pull through, 2 on your hook, under, hook, pull through both loops. Now we have 2 single crochets. So just keep going all the way down. This is another one of those things where the more you practice, the easier it gets. So once you've mastered doing the chain, do this over and over and over. I know you're going to be anxious to move on, but the more you master each stitch, the easier it is when you go to make something that you don't forget or you don't get frustrated with yourself because you moved on too fast. So we have 2 loops left. When we get to the slip knot, that's the end of our row. So 1 more. So what you would do in your next row, when you're making something flat and square or rectangle, whatever, instead of, you know, like when you go in a circle, you just keep going and going on your row. So when you're doing something flat, you have to turn it. So we're doing single crochet. So what you do before you turn is you take your hook and you chain one. Just like in a regular chain, you just chain one. And then you turn your work. So now the rest of your work is down to the left or the right, whichever way you're crocheting. And now you're back on the right side. So you're going to do the same thing. This is where it gets so much easier. Once you've crocheted in the chain, crocheting is so much easier. You just have to really pay attention to where you're ending. And this is where stitch counting really comes into play. If you know you have 10 stitches, you should have 10 stitches every single row unless you're not meaning to. If you're increasing or decreasing, that's different. But stitching a straight scarf or anything like that, you should really, especially in the beginning, make sure you're counting how many stitches. This is where people end up having a blanket or a scarf that starts off like this and then ends up going like that because they're not counting. So we've chained one, we've turned. You can see easier the spot where you're supposed to crochet now. So you insert, you've got 2 loops on the top. Very easily, you don't have to hunt for them. See the top of this? It's very easy to see where the 2 loops on top are now. So you insert, hook, pull through, 2 loops on top, pull through. Now we've made our first stitch in our second row. So you're just going to go all the way down. All the way down. One of the things that definitely helps control my yarn for me is to keep my skein of yarn on my left side. It's kind of different for everyone, however you hold your yarn and your tension and stuff. It just depends. Like for me, it helps me control it better if I keep it like down to my left. It just makes it so much easier. So we're almost to the end. And I'm going to show you how to finish off in this, just so you know. So the last one, insert, pull through. So let's just pretend that this is the longest, most beautiful scarf ever, and you want to finish off and then weave in your ends. So what you're going to do, you're going to chain one just like normal. So you've chained one. So at this point, what you can do is grab your scissors. I tend to cut a little longer, just depending. Like if it were like a blanket really long, I would cut my end a little longer so I have a little more to weave in so it doesn't come out as quickly. So anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to clip it, and then you're going to pull the yarn like this, and it pulls it through. So it kind of makes a new little slip knot, and then you just tighten it. So now you have this end hanging off here. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook into your top stitches, and then you just kind of pull it back and forth. You kind of switch what side you're going from. Pull it back and forth. When I do hats and stuff that gets a lot of wear and tear, I actually go a little extra step. So you can weave in however much you want. And I just kind of pull it like that to get it not super tight. And then you just cut off the excess. Whatever's there, just cut off the excess and then just kind of do a little pulling and it'll kind of tuck it in there. If it doesn't, you can clip it again. Just don't clip it too short because you'll just keep clipping and clipping and clipping. And that will defeat the purpose of weaving in. But anyways, when I make hats and stuff that get a lot of wear and tear, I actually go a little further in the step of finishing off. I actually separate the 4 strands into 2 and 2 and tie a few knots. And then I weave it in, and it just depends. Sometimes I split it again and tie another knot further into the hat. It just depends. Not everybody does that. I just like to do that on hats just because they get a lot of wear and tear and I want them to not come undone. So that is your single crochet, and then finishing off and weaving in your ends.